and welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, March 20th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain, and many of the stories we read here can be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com. Also, all our web video offerings are at IndianCountryTV.com, so go there and feast on the news every now and then. The news for today: Jerry Fogg was just a teenager when he was handed a gun and told to help guard the South Dakota town of Wounded Knee during one of the most public displays of protest by American Indian Movement members nearly 4 decades ago. For 3 days, Fogg joined Oglala Sioux tribal members and their followers as they occupied and seized the town for 71 days. Fogg is one of nearly 25 artists, both native and non-native, from around the country displaying their artwork at Augustana College's Center for Western Studies in Sioux Falls as part of a first-of-its-kind art exhibit and show. Interpretations of Wounded Knee 1973 and 1890 is meant to help foster understanding and build stronger relationships between natives and non-natives as the 40th anniversary of the Wounded Knee takeover approaches, said Timothy Hoheisel, Director of Outreach and Promotion at the Center for Western Studies. The exhibit is a prelude to the annual Dakota Conference, which brings together professional and amateur historians and researchers to present papers on a particular topic relevant to Northern Plains history. The theme for this year's conference is Wounded Knee 1973, 40 years later. The event, scheduled for April 27th and 28th, is bringing together former AIM members, federal agents, prosecutors, and journalists, as well as bystanders who witnessed that particular event. Former Navajo Nation President Joe Shirley Jr. is seeking his old seat on the Apache County Board of Supervisors. The Gallup Independent reports that Shirley announced last week that he would seek the District 1 seat on the board after District 1 Supervisor Jim Claw said he would not seek re-election this year. Shirley, a Chinle, Arizona resident, held the job as District 1 Supervisor for 18 years before serving as Navajo Nation President from 2002 to 2010. Elected supervisors elected for a 4-year term and have the opportunity to serve in an unlimited number of terms there. As Navajo president, Shirley was often at odds with the tribal council. Shirley was successful in getting the number of council delegates reduced from 88 to 24 through a nationwide vote before he left office there. Native American advocacy group estimates that more than 3,000 members of 24 California tribes have been cut off over the last 15 years in disputes over bloodlines. The Los Angeles Times reported March 18th that the Paula Indian tribe is one of the latest to be embroiled in a tussle over ancestry that led to 162 descendants of a prominent tribal leader being cut off from their $7,500 monthly share of casino profits and benefits that are paid as a per capita. Experts such as David Wilkins of the University of Minnesota say disenrollment is being used to settle clashes over personality issues and declining casino profits. The Pala dispute in northern San Diego County centers on whether Elder Margarita O'Linguish Brittain, who passed away in 1925, did or did not have a white father. A Canadian man convicted in the 1975 killing of a fellow American Indian Movement activist says the government should not have been allowed to move his case from federal to state court after his extradition to the U.S. John Murphy, attorney for John Graham, told the South Dakota Supreme Court on March 19th that he didn't have sufficient time before trial to question the court's decision to allow Graham's case to be moved to state courts. Graham was convicted in December of 2010 of being a party to murder for the execution-style killing of Anime Piktuakwash in December of 1975. Murphy said that during Graham's trial, the judge told Graham that he had no standing to challenge his presence in state court, saying, "Doesn't matter how you got here, now that you're here, this case can proceed." Graham was arrested in December of 2003 in Vancouver, British Columbia on federal charges in the Akwash murder case. 2 courts then ruled that the U.S. government lacked jurisdiction to try Graham because he was not an American Indian, and the case was eventually moved to state court where they had jurisdiction over non-Indians. A federal government's decision to allow a Wyoming tribe to kill 2 bald eagles for a religious ceremony is a victory for American Indian sovereignty as well as for long suppressed religious freedom, some members of the tribe says. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Commission granted a permit March 9th to the northern Arapaho Tribe, allowing it to either kill or capture or release up to 2 bald eagles this year. While no one questions the religious sincerity of northern Arapaho tribal members, spokesmen for some conservation and animal rights groups question why the tribe can't meet its religious needs without killing wild eagles. They say the tribe could raise captive birds or accept eagle feathers or carcasses already available from a federal repository that collects birds killed by power lines or other causes. The northern Arapaho declined to say specifically what they will do with the eagles the federal permit allows them to kill. Quote, "It's been since the beginning of time with us, and we respectfully utilize the eagle in our ceremony," said Harvey Spoonhunter, a tribal elder and former chairman of the Northern Arapaho Business Council. AFT President Randy Weingarten joins host Tavis Smiley in a diverse all-woman panel in a rebroadcast March 28th and 30th. It'll be rebroadcast on the Tavis Smiley on PBS of an in-depth discussion that took place on March 18th of the impact of poverty on women and children in America. Smiley's Made Visible Women, Children, and Poverty in America was aired live on C-SPAN and is now being rebroadcast on PBS and Public Radio International. Poverty is not a destiny, but it is a fact, and we must address it honestly, said Weingarten. We know that poverty has a tremendous impact on a child's ability to learn and grow in the classroom. With 3 million more children living in poverty since the start of this recession and a rapidly growing achievement gap between poor and wealthy students, we owe it to our children to tackle these issues head on so that every child has a fair shot at achieving his or her dreams. The panel included AFT President Randy Weingarten, Tavis Smiley, Adelante Movement founder Nili Galan, Bennett College President Dr. Julian Malvu, personal finance expert Susie Orman, actress and activist Susan Sarandon, U.S. Labor Secretary Hilda Salas, former Oglala Sioux Tribal President Cecilia Fire Thunder, former Planned Parenthood President Faye Wattleton, and Pulitzer Prize winning author Cheryl Wudun. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of Native News Update, we want to say Pinagigi Miigwech and Wawanin for joining, and come back again soon.